Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai Gaur Premanande. Now is the time for the Bhagavad Gita class. Please face on this side here, where the speaker is going to be on this side here, so face towards me, yeah, just face towards me. Turn around, please. And we're going to have the Bhagavad Gita classes now. Thank you very much. Take this. Thank you. You should come. You should come. They are here every Sunday.
Okay.
I'll take it.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari, Jaya Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Dwaradhari, Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you everyone for this evening Bhagavad Gita class. We will chant our invocation, Mangala Charan prayers, and then we will have a discussion, question answers, questions, comments, everything. So, yeah, everyone can hear me properly, right? Yeah, okay. Let's chant the Mangala Charan, and then we will have our discussions. Om Ajnantimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayham Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Saavadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kant Radha Kant Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जानुलंबित भुजौ कनकावधातौ संकीर्तने कपितरौ कमलायताक्षौ विश्वम्भरौ द्विजभरौ युगधर्मपालौ वन्दे जगत्प्रियकरौ करुणावतारौ यन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाचमिमां प्रसूक्तां सञ्जीवयत्यखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यंश्च हस्तचरणश्रवणात्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यम्. So today we are going to discuss a verse and some part of the purport by Srila Prabhupada from Nectar of Instruction. This is the book. It is in Sanskrit, it is called Upadeshamrita. Upadesh means advice, instruction, and Amrita means nectar. So, Nectar of Instruction, that is the book. And the verse is the second verse. How many of you know the background of Nectar of Instruction? How Nectar of Instruction came in the existence? How many of? Can anyone tell me? One of our Acharya, Srila Rupa Goswami, he was instructed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Channa avatar, the incarnation of Krishna, 500 years back. And on the Dashashwamedh Ghat at Prayagraj, today earlier it was called Allahabad, that's where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed him certain preaching instructions. And that's what Rupa Goswami has written in several books, and one of the books is this one, Nectar of Instructions. And we are going to discuss the second verse from this. It's a very, very simple instructions to understand, to begin with. So what is this verse? You can repeat after me. Atyaharaha prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyascha shadbhir bhakti vinashyati. So what's the translation of this? One's devotional service is spoiled, bhakti marga, the purification process is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. So what are the 6 activities? Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. So in Sanskrit, the terminology is atyahara. The second verse, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. That is prayasascha, unnecessary endeavors. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matter. The subject matter which is not related to bhakti, not related to Krishna consciousness. That is called prajalpa. So talking about politics, talking about gossip, talking about something which is not related to the Lord, which does not give us any pleasure. It doesn't derive any happiness. So that is all called prajalpa. So if somebody is too interested in analyzing newspapers and everything else, that is all prajalpa. So that's what, I'm not saying this, that's what our Acharya is saying. So that's the third part. Fourth, practicing the spiritual scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them, or not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. So, that is called niyama agraha. It is a dvyartha alankar in Sanskrit. So, niyama agraha means unnecessary abiding to the rules without the objective of spiritual advancement. That is niyama agraha. And niyama agraha means not following the rules at all and just following everything whimsically. So I don't believe in this, I don't believe in that, because it is all your own whimsical ideas. So that is niyama agraha. There are two things which Rupa Goswami is telling here in this particular verse. And then fifth one is associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. So the people who are not on the path of Krishna consciousness or on the path of bhakti, devotion, associating with them, the person gets into all sorts of materialistic activities, which does not give any pleasure, which has end result is always miseries. So that's the fifth one. And the sixth one is being greedy for mundane achievements. So working very hard just for the sense gratification. And that's the last part, which is laulya, greed. So 6 things Rupa Goswami talks about. So in this purport, we are going to discuss the paragraphs written by Srila Prabhupada, the 2 paragraphs. I will just read those paragraphs and then we will have our further discussions. So Jana Sangha refers to associating with persons not interested in Krishna consciousness. One should strictly avoid such association. Srila Narottam Das Thakur has therefore advised us to live only in the association of Krishna conscious devotees, Bhakta Sanvasa. One should always engage in the service of the Lord in the association of Lord's devotees. Association with those engaged in similar line of business is very conducive to advancement in that business. Consequently, materialistic persons from various associations and clubs to enhance their endeavors. For example, in a business world, we find such institutions as the Stock Exchange and Chamber of Commerce. Similarly, we have established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness to give people an opportunity to associate with those who have not forgotten Krishna. This spiritual association offered by our ISKCON movement is increasing day by day. Many people from different parts of the world are joining this society to awaken their dormant Krishna consciousness. So this Lord has given the instructions, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Rupa Goswami is telling us the importance of association of devotees. So we will just discuss the association of devotees first, and then after this we will go for the second paragraph, which talks about atyahara, eating too much or accumulating lot of wealth or food or everything more than what we need. So let's discuss this part first and then we will go to the next one. So association of devotees. If we see why association of devotees is important, there is one story. There was one Christian priest, and he realized that one person was not going to church that regularly, and slowly his absence was very conspicuous. So that person was very devoted person, and one day the priest went to his house, and it was a winter time, and there was a fireplace there. So priest went to that fireplace with the tongue. He took one charcoal out, the active charcoal, the burning one, and put that in a tray. After some time, rest of the charcoal, it was giving heat, but the one which was taken out, that slowly died down. And then priest looked at him, and the person realized that if you are not in an association of those like-minded people, you will be separated out. You will not be one of them. and then you are the loser. And then priest gave him the importance of being in the association of devotees. So that's just as an example to start with. And in our scriptures, Lord gives the importance of that association. So let's read some of those instruction Lord has given in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. What he says, I will read the translation of those verses and then we will come to the point of other discussions. Every learned man knows very well that attachment for the material is the greatest entanglement of the spirit soul. But that same attachment, when applied to self-realized devotees, opens the door for liberation. So what the instruction here is, we all have our attachments. We are here in this material world because we have attachment. That attachment is always related to some of the objects which are related to our sense gratification. So what are the senses and what attachments we have? First example is our tongue. So tongue has 2 attachments. First one is food, taste. Second one is to speak, correct? So food is according to the modes of material nature, correct? Sattva, Rajatama, passion, ignorance and goodness. So accordingly, person has the attachment. They want that particular type of food. And if the person's attachment is towards the food related to mode of passion or mode of ignorance, how that person is, either they are lazy or they are aggressive, overactive. What is the result of that? Not very good. Quite miserable. Whereas a person who is very composed, very calm, and a person who eats food in mode of goodness is usually very pleasant. Correct? What is the difference? And food is not always in just one mode of material nature. It's a combination of that. This is not just one example. The people of how their conditioning is, what their daily practice is, accordingly that person's behavior is. So someone who continuously eats mode of passion type of food, that person, apparently we may see that the person is very calm and very composed. But at the same time, if we observe their behavior, they always have tendency to accumulate, to work very hard for the sense gratification. Whereas if we see the person who is a sadhu, who is very spiritually advanced, that person is usually calm. That person is very composed. That person is very, very pleasant personality to deal with. And that is why all the sannyasis, when we see the saffron clothed person and very advanced devotee, everyone wants to associate with them. Right? Agree? And the reason behind that is the person is trying to be, or he's advancing in the mode of goodness. Is devotee of the Lord. Need not have to be in our movement itself. Even if the person who is a devotee of Jesus in other religions as well, they're also if the person is in a mode of goodness and if they're following the path properly, we can see them very composed and very, very pleasant personalities. And that's what the first verse, the translation was. If we see the second translation, then Lord talks about the symptoms. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies, he is peaceful, he abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Very explains itself. Let's go to the next verse. And then he says, such sadhu engages in staunch devotional service to the Lord without deviation. For the sake of the Lord, he renounces all other connections, such as family relationships, and friendly acquaintances within the world. So does it mean family relationships are bad? No. That's a wrong interpretation of this. What that means is any attachment to material life, to material body, will give us miseries. The attachment should be towards the living entity, towards the soul. And who is that soul? That is part and parcel of the Lord. So attachment to body, that's what this verse is telling us. Not attachment. Family relationship means it is usually bodily attachment. And that is why that attachment will bring miseries to the person. Let's go to the next verse. Engaged constantly in chanting and hearing about me. That means the Lord is talking about himself. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, the sadhus do not suffer from material miseries because they are always filled with thoughts of my pastimes and activities. So in Bhagavad Gita, in 10th chapter, Lord says that how his devotees are. He describes his devotees. He says, Machchita madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam. So my devotees, for them, their life and soul is talking about me, my activities. Kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So constantly discussing about my pastimes, about me, they are always completely contented, happy and satisfied. So that's the verse Lord talks about his own activities. And then if we see, Lord talks about the association of devotees here. He says, these are the qualities of great devotees who are free from all attachment. You must seek attachment to such holy men, for this counteracts the pernicious activities of material attachment. And what this means is, material attachments which are bringing us towards miseries, devotees association will help us to advance in Krishna consciousness, on the path of bhakti. And that is why the prime instruction here is to follow the path of bhakti. And how to do that? So what are the 4 things person should follow? Very simple to remember. A, B, C, D. A is association of devotees. B is books, reading about scriptures, reading a Bhagavad Gita, reading Srimad Bhagavatam, that is B. Books. C is chanting the holy name of the Lord. We were chanting the Mahamantra, congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. So that is C. And D is, anyone? Diet. So having prasadam is very important. These all activities are related to devotion. A, B, C, D. But the last part is diet. Because when we have prasadam, devotees honor prasadam. Other people, the non-devotees, they eat because it is for sense gratification. But our desire to have proper, nice food is fulfilled by having prasadam, the food offered to the Lord. And whatever is offered to the Lord is in mode of goodness. That's why we say satvik ahar, satvik, right? Mode of goodness food. So that's very important. And then he says, in the association of pure devotees, discussions of pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed. And his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begins. So important is the power of association, to being in the association of devotees. So, very important. And then he says, thus consciously engaged in devotional service, in the association of devotees, a person gains distaste for sense gratification. Because sense gratification, as you can imagine, when person is young, their senses are demanding a specific type of activities. When the person gets a bit old, the senses have different type of demands. And when person gets older and later, the senses have different demands. So it's not constant. So what Lord says in Bhagavad Gita, in this, our book, this world is temporary and full of miseries. So if whatever is temporary is always full of miseries. Do you agree? right? So our senses demands are also temporary. That means they are taking us towards misery. That's the verdict of the Supreme Lord. What is Bhagavad Gita? What this book is? We all of us have mobile phones or some instruments, washing machines at home, right? How do we operate that washing machine? Sometimes the basics is with common sense, but usually we follow the instruction. And this book is the instruction of this material world. The manual of this world, who has given this? The Creator himself. Correct? And the Creator's manual is Bhagavad Gita, and that's why we should read it. That's why A, B, C, D. The books are so important. And this Bhagavad Gita is telling us that this world is full of miseries because it is temporary. And because, as we can see, the demands in this world are temporary. The relationship is temporary. The body is temporary. Everything is temporary. So what is eternal? The spirit soul. And that's why our relationship should be with the spirit soul. So that means when there is a relationship with the spirit soul, how that can be possible? When we have relationship with the Lord. When all the fruits of one tree, how they can be related? Because it is coming from the same tree. So all the brothers and sisters, they have the special bond. Why? Because of the mother and father. So like that, all of us, every living entity, can have that beautiful, cohesive, full of loving relationship when we are connected to the eternal source of love. That is the Supreme Lord, Krishna himself. And that's what the instruction he is giving us here. And then we will read the last two verses here, the translation. Thus, consciously engaged in devotional service, in the association of devotees, a person gains distaste. And that's the verse we read. And the last verse here, he says, thus, by not engaging in the devotional service of the modes of material nature, but by developing Krishna consciousness, knowledge in renunciation, and by practicing yoga. Yoga means, the literal meaning of yoga. Can anyone tell me what is yoga? Addition and subtraction in maths, correct? So what is addition? In Sanskrit, yoga. Subtraction is viyog. Yoga viyoga kriya. That means the activity of addition and subtraction is called yoga viyoga. So yoga, literal meaning of yoga means connecting, addition. So addition to what? To the Supreme Lord. Connecting to Supreme Lord. And that's what the Lord is saying here. By practicing yoga. And that's why the topmost yoga is what? Bhakti yoga. The Hatha yoga or that Ashtanga yoga is the activity which is nowadays people think as the actual yoga. It is nothing but a gymnastics if it is not connected to the Supreme Lord. I think people in circus can do better gymnastics than that. But when it is connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how? Then we follow the steps of bhakti. And that's what this yoga means. So then he says, in which the mind is always fixed in devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One achieves my association in this very life, for I am the Supreme Personality, the Absolute Truth. So that is the verdict. That is the word of God himself from our scriptures. And that's the importance of association he's telling us here. So 4 regulative principles we follow here that brings us to the mode of goodness. And what are the 4 regulative principles in our movement? No meat eating, because we cannot offer anything like this abominable stuff to the Lord. For prasadam, we have to make sure that it's a mode of goodness food. The shakahar, it's a vegetarian food which can be offered to the Lord. So that's why no meat eating, no gambling, because mentally the person gets completely bewildered and gets excessively attached towards gambling. No intoxication, no any intoxicating material by consuming that. That's the third principle. And the fourth one is no illicit relationships. So that brings a person to the mode of goodness automatically, to this level of human level. And then following the path of bhakti, doing the meditation, chanting A, B, C, D, what we just talked about. And that nullifies lot of bad attachment from this material world, and it gives us the higher taste. I would like to narrate a story, and then we will go to the next point. When this movement started, once what happened in America, there was a Harinam party. We all chant on the street, right? Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Mridang and Kartal, and sometimes accordion, and you all must have seen that. So once there was a Harinam Sankirtan party on the streets of America, and there was one police car chasing a drug dealer. And the drug dealer, he realized that now he cannot escape so easily. So what to do? And he saw on the other side the devotees chanting the holy name, and they were dancing and they were happy. So the drug dealer, he just jumped from his car and joined the party. So police could not thought that no, he can't be part of this group. So they were searching somewhere else, and by that time he was also acting in that group. So he finally reached the temple. In the temple, then he thought that police were there because they thought that he might be somewhere around. And then in the temple, he went inside, and the devotees said, okay, the new person has joined our movement. But he was just trying to escape from this, from the police. Then that person, the drug dealer, he went to bed somewhere, he slept, and then around 3 o'clock or 3:30, somebody woke him up. Get up now. We have to go for Mangalarti. And he said, what is Mangalarti? No, just join us. So he was awake, and then they said, now you have to take a shower. And there was a big queue, long queue. And he joined the queue, and he thought that it must be nice, luxurious, wonderful bath. But when he went to the actual shower room, it was just a cold shower, and it was winter. And he realized that something is quite austere here. So and people were knocking on the door. Hey, come out. And then he just couple of small buckets he poured on himself, and then he came out, and then they said, now we have to go for the Mangalarti. And he said, what is Mangalarti? Join us. And then they were singing, and then there was a plant in the middle, Tulsi Devi, and they were circumambulating there, and said, what is this? No, just join us. So how long you have to keep circumambulating? And he said, till you faint. Keep following what everyone is doing. So he did that, and then there was a japa session, and then he thought that what's this? And somebody gave him the beads, and they told him, and he found it a bit weird. So for quite some time, every day he was following it just to escape from the police. And eventually he told the temple president that, you know what, actually I'm a drug dealer, and I have come here to escape from police. And the temple president said, no, I have to inform police now. You can't be here. So he was handed over to police, and police said, now we have to take you to the judge because there has to be a verdict, and accordingly you will get punishment. So judge said, for last 4, 5, 6 months, what have you been doing? And he described the temple routine there. And judge was listening to it, and morning till evening, and going for Sankirtan, and he has to distribute the books and read it and all that. And judge said, that's tougher than being in the jail. So that's okay, you're excused. And then he came back, and by that time he was pretending. But then he came back to the temple president and he said, actually, you know what? This experience has given me some different insight. So I would like to follow what you guys do properly. So then he was instructed, he was welcomed, and then eventually he became one of the most advanced devotees in our movement. Very scholarly person and very honest, very genuine, wonderful devotee. So just by that 6 months of association of devotees by accident, the person became such an amazing personality. So that's just the power of association. Very practical story from our movement. So let's go to the next purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada, and the next one is his spiritual master. That's what he's saying here. Writes in his Anavritti commentary that too much endeavor to acquire knowledge on the part of mental speculators or dry philosophers falls within the category of atyahara, collecting more than needed. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, the endeavor of philosophical speculators to write volumes of books on dry philosophy devoid of Krishna consciousness is entirely futile. The work of karmis who write volumes of books on economic development also falls within this category of atyahara. Similarly, those who have no desire for Krishna consciousness and who are simply interested in possessing more and more material things, either in the shape of scientific knowledge or monetary gain, are all included under the control of atyahara. So that's the definition of atyahara as per our acharya, as per our Guru Parampara. So, interesting part of atyahara is lot of times we don't realize that we are indulging in atyahara. Because what justifies atyahara? Our intelligence says, no, this is necessary. What may happen tomorrow? You never know. So you have to collect more. And then we collect more, and then you say, no, actually that is not enough. You should have a bit more, and more, and more. So there is a verse in Sri Ishopanishad where it is said that everyone has been allocated with certain resources. Even if you try to accumulate more and more and more, you will not be enjoy that. You will not be able to enjoy that. It is not your quota. You may have it in your house or in your custody. So that verse says that Ishavasya sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tyena tyaktena bhunjita ma grudha kvasya siddhanam. So what that means is everyone in this material world, every living entity has been allocated a certain amount of resources, very specific. More than that, even if we think that I have accumulated, I have so much of property, I have so much of gold, I have so much of grains, everything. But in your lifespan, you cannot enjoy everything. It's not your quota. It will go to someone else. But because the person has that greed, laulya, there will be karmic reactions for sure. That's what the scriptures are saying. So what shall we do? What's the solution for this? So whatever we have accumulated, the solution, easy solution given in the scriptures, usually it's given even more elaborate in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, that we always should purify what we have. How to purify? By using our resources for the right cause. What does Lord say? What does He promise in Bhagavad Gita? 9:22 Bhagavad Gita. He says, Ananyaschintayanto mam ye janam paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. The person who follows the Ananyaschintayanto mam, who is always thinking about me, who is following the path of bhakti very properly. Ye janam parya upasate, those people, jana, those who are following that upasana, tesham nitya abhiyuktanam, of those people, abhiyukta, I follow, I take care of their day-to-day activities. So how to do that? So what that means, that everything which we have, which is given to us, if we think that it is more than what is required, for that, what is needed? The purification of consciousness. How to do that? By donating certain amount from our earnings for the devotional activities. How? For example, we have food for life. So we donate prasadam. We give prasadam to the people. So that, because what happens? Because of prasadam, our consciousness gets purified. So contribute to make sure that some of our earnings are getting purified for prasadam distribution, for knowledge distribution. That's why on the streets we request people to take Bhagavad Gita, read it, and join the movement and follow the path of bhakti. So book distribution. Yeah. Then when you are in association of devotees, we should serve them. Organize kirtan, organize programs, house programs, being together. Because in that mood, we invoke the blessings, the mercy of the Lord. So, and what we do there, when we machita madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam. What Lord says is, when my devotees are together, they talk about me. We discuss about Lord's pastimes, the activities. And then we have prasadam. So all ABCDs are association, books, chanting and diet. That gets covered when we try to follow this process of using our extra resources for the devotional service. So our house, we can make that as like a temple, following the principles of devotional service. So what Srila Prabhupada says is dovetailing our activities towards Krishna consciousness. So that is the principle. Chit in Sanskrit is consciousness, but chitta means contaminated consciousness. And what contaminated consciousness does? It gives the subtle body of mind, intelligence and false ego. And that subtle body has demands. And all our bodies, whether good, bad, whatever it is, young, old, that we have received this body accordingly what we deserve and what we desire. So somebody, when the person says, no, I don't deserve this. No, you do. As per the karmic account of that person from this life, from previous life, from many other lives, for millions of lifetimes, accordingly we have received this body. And that's what we desired as well. So whether male, female, ant, elephant, whatever, that is part of the desire of that Jivatma. And that's why this body the Jivatma has. So being contented, accepting what we have as it is, Ishavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat. That's what the quota, that's what we have received. And then what this body is accustomed to, the three modes of material nature, sattva, raja, tama. But our objective, because in human form of life, Lord has given us the manual for the purification of consciousness, for upliftment of consciousness. And that's why the person, every human being's objective should be to do the activities in the mode of goodness, in the sattva guna. At some point of time, the Lord's mercy, the association of devotees, that our consciousness will be elevated to such an extent that we will experience that bliss. Usually in the material world, the happiness, what is the definition of happiness? Relief from miseries, correct? Somebody has given a nice back massage and you feel nice. What does that mean? Because there was a pain, and that pain is relieved, that's why you feel nice. So, does it mean it's a happiness? No, it's not. Relief from miseries is not happiness. That's the wrong definition of happiness. Happiness has to be there without miseries, without any with absence of miseries. That is happiness. And that happiness is where? Is with the Lord. The ultimate, the supreme, unlimited source of happiness is Krishna himself. The name Ram means he is the source of pleasure. So when we are connected to that supreme source of happiness, then only the person can be happy. The beautiful example of this is, there is a dust particle. Where will it rest finally? On the ground. If there is a fire, can fire be going down? No. Where will it go? It will always be pointing up. Why? Because the source of that energy, the fire, is who? Sun God. That's why it's always directing towards sun. Air, however we try to suppress it, it will try to release itself and it will meet the source, the air, the actual air, correct? So, in the same way, the soul, when the soul can be happy, when the soul is connected to the super soul, to the Supreme Lord, then only the soul can be happy. If not, then no, it's not possible. So that is why, if we see any book which is not related to devotional service, cannot give us any conclusive statement. There is always some variegatedness in that. I myself is a physicist. So initially there was a theory from Newton about the particles, and then many other Fermi, Dirac, bosons, and then Plutons, and this, that, many other things came. Until today, there is still discussion whether the energy is particles or the waves. Huygens theory says waves. So there is no conclusive statement. And there are volumes of books there, huge number of books. Why? Because it is not related to the actual source where the knowledge is coming from. If we see the Vedic literature, that gives a very clear idea what this world is. Aparayamitastvanyam prakritim vidhime param. Jiva bhuta mahabhavo yedam daryate jagat. This is the secondary energy of the Lord. Clear statement. We are not part of this energy. We are part of the marginal energy, and our ultimate destination is being connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very clear. One statement, and Lord has given the conclusion of everything. But whereas the physicist, we are still speculating. What is this? This is matter, this is energy, this is light. E is equal to mc square. Someone is trying to disprove that. No, this is not true, that is not true. So, what is the conclusion of this? The conclusion is, unless and until Jivatma is connected to Paramatma, to the Supreme Lord, Jivatma cannot be happy. It's a legitimate desire of a spirit soul to be happy. There's nothing wrong in that. But if we are trying to connect to that happiness at the wrong source, we will not be happy. And that's the problem. Correct? We have 5 minutes. I will stop here. There is a lot to discuss. Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 17, especially, verse number 1 to 6, 7 to 10, and then what are the qualities of greedy person, 15, 16, 17, and then there is a lot of discussion about it. You all can get Bhagavad Gita, and I would suggest how to read it. If someone has not read it till now, then just take a couple of hours in a day, maybe on your weekend or when you have time. Just read the translation first, end to end. You will get an idea of what Lord is saying here. But translation is not enough. So, because when our acharyas explain what is the meaning of it, it gives lot of details of what is, because Lord has empowered these pure devotees, and that is why once you read just translations with the verses, then you can start reading actual purports, tatparya in this book. So that's what we will stop here. Are there any questions or comments? Anyone would like to add anything? Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
There is a way to come out, but how somebody connected to Vishad Yoga?
Yeah. Okay. Good one. So, Prabhuji's question is, what is Vishad Yoga and how person in Vishad Yoga gets connected and how to come out of it? So, first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is Arjuna Vishada Yoga. And what Prabhupada has given us here about the first chapter is the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So why? Because Vishad Yoga is a getting bewilderment. Arjun was bewildered on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And because when he saw his bodily connections, that's where he said to the Lord, now what shall I do? My bow is now falling down, and he had tears in his eyes. And then the second chapter onwards, what is the conclusion? What is the reason for Vishad? Because of the bodily connections. And what is the solution for that? Lord says in the second chapter that it is because you have that conditioned mentality that now it is all related to you and you are the doer. But when you surrender unto me, then everything will fall in place. And that's why he says in the 9th chapter and at the end of 18th chapter, Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. Surrender unto me, offer your obeisances to me, and be my devotee. Mame vaishyasi bhakta satyam te pratijane priyosi me. And then those people, those jivatma are closer to me. They will come back to me. And there are several confirmations of this conclusion that we can be happy eternally only when we surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is the conclusion of this. So it's 7 o'clock. Aarti will start soon. So we'll stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Mataji.
So if everyone can please get ready for the Aarti ceremony. If you can all please stand up and come forward. So as the Aarti ceremony is being performed, we'll be singing this song, the Gaur Aarti song, that's on the screen. So the lead singer will sing one line at a time, and if you can follow the lead singer. And then afterwards we'll go on to chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Kasoba Jaya Jaya Gaura Chande Arati Kasoba Janavi Tatavane Jagamanalo ba Janavi kakavane Jagamana loba Dakhi Nanitai Chan Name Gadada